Hey friends, it's Utasho here, or Steven depending on your pronunciation, and this video is a guide discussing everything you need to know about the brand new curse status in Spelunky 2. I will cover everything from how to get cursed, what curse does, how to cure a curse, and how to find the ghost shop. This guide is all-encompassing, so see the description for timestamps if you're only looking for certain pieces of information. The first thing to mention is what being cursed actually means for the player. When the player becomes cursed, they will immediately drop to 1 heart, no matter how many hearts they had previously, and their character will begin sporting a smoky gray color scheme. In addition to dropping to 1 heart, the player will be unable to gain any health back while cursed, which means cooked turkey, royal jelly, collecting blood in the Kapala, and bringing a pet to the end of a level are effectively useless and are simply a waste of time and resources. Lastly, being cursed reduces the ghost spawn timer by 30 seconds, which means you'll be visited every level by our favorite spooky ghost boy at 2 minutes and 30 seconds instead of 3 minutes, or 4 minutes and 30 seconds instead of 5 minutes if you have a 4-leaf clover item. While being cursed has many negative and difficult to deal with side effects, there are a couple specific benefits and uses for the cursed status. So that being said, here are all 4 ways to acquire the cursed status that you should either avoid or pursue, depending on your goals. The earliest means of acquiring the cursed status comes in the form of the cursed pot that spawns on most levels. When broken, the cursed pot will immediately spawn the ghost and will drop a guaranteed 5,000 gold. The pot will also apply the cursed status to anything that it breaks on, which could be an enemy, the player, or nothing at all. Note that in order for the pot to curse the player, the pot has to actually break on the player's body and not just break while the player is near it. This means whipping the pot while standing in it is safe and will not curse the player, seeing as the pot didn't actually hit them. The second cause of curse that the player will encounter is from the Witch Doctor enemy found in the jungle zone. The Witch Doctor is like a caveman or boomerang throwing tiki man, but he wears a purple mask and attacks the player with a magical flying skull. If the player ventures too close, the Witch Doctor's floating skull will slowly fly at the player. The skull is easy to dodge and easy to get away from, but should you accidentally get hit by the skull, it will apply the cursed status. The third cause of curse is from the cat mummy enemy found in the Temple of Anubis zone. As the name states, these enemies are small, mummified cats who will charge at you very quickly when approached. They can be very difficult to avoid if you aren't prepared to react, and will curse the player immediately upon contact. The last and most difficult way to get cursed is by destroying 3 Kali sacrifice altars in a single run. Destroying the first altar will spawn a large group of enemies to ambush you. Destroying a second altar will also spawn a large group of dangerous enemies, with the added difficulty of attaching a weighted ball and chain to your character that constantly slows you down. And destroying the third altar will spawn all the enemies, attach another ball and chain to you, and immediately apply the curse status effect. Should you find yourself cursed from any of these 4 methods, and you no longer wish to suffer, at the time of making this video, there are 3 known ways to cure the curse status in a run. The first and perhaps the easiest method of curing curse is to sacrifice a pet on a Kali altar while already having 8 favor points or more. This means that sacrificing a single pet will not immediately cure you, and you will need to sacrifice a second pet to cure the cursed status. If you are unfamiliar with favor points and the Kali altar's sacrifice values, see my other video linked on screen that breaks down the sacrifice values in Spelunky 2. The second method of getting cured is to find the Ankh item after defeating Olmec, which is a single-use item that resurrects the player at the start of a level with 4 hearts, should they find themselves knocking at death's door. If a player dies while cursed and resurrects using the Ankh, they will be revived without the cursed status. The last method of curing curse involves getting the Elixir item from the Temple of Anubis zone. On floor 4-2 of the temple, the player can take on the Star Challenge, which requires lighting several torches in one room within a certain amount of time. If the player is successful, they will be rewarded with the Elixir, which is a single-use consumable item. The Elixir will restore different amounts of health depending on the player's status, but if the player is only cursed, the Elixir will cure the curse status and set the player at 5 hearts. Now that we've covered all the negative effects of being cursed, as well as all the ways to both acquire and cure the cursed status, let's talk about the benefits of being cursed. There are only really 3 noteworthy benefits for the cursed status. The first benefit to note is actually not about the player being cursed, but the ability for the player to throw a cursed pot at an enemy and apply the cursed status to them. Just like what happens to the player, a cursed enemy will immediately drop to 1 health, which means this strategy can be utilized on some healthier enemies to allow the player an effective one-shot kill. The second benefit of being cursed is that it is a requirement for getting the True Crown item. The True Crown is a fairly difficult item to acquire, and I will cover it in more detail in another video. Finally, the third, and what I would argue is the most important and useful benefit of being cursed, is the Ghist shop, or ghost shop. The Ghist shop is a secret background cave shop found in 1.4 that can only be accessed if the player is cursed. The Ghist shop will always contain 3 very valuable high-tier items that can be bought for 20,000 gold each, or stolen from for free. The coveted Kapala is very commonly one of the 3 items, allowing the player to acquire it fairly early if no altars have been encountered. Let me break down how to get to the Ghist shop. Step 1 is to make it to the floor 1.4 at the end of the dwelling while already being cursed. It is possible to find a cursed pot and curse yourself on stage 1.4, but this is not recommended since doing so will spawn the ghost right away, making it very difficult for you to complete the rest of the steps. In the next part of this video, I will discuss easy and safe ways to consistently curse yourself using the cursed pot in single player. Step 2 is to use the mini-boss Quillback or several bombs to destroy the ground and reveal the Ghist shop entrance. Because bombs are such a valuable tool, it is recommended to use Quillback to destroy as much ground as possible before relying on your precious stash of bombs. This is done by running Quillback back and forth over and over again, using ladders and ropes to safely get above his destructive instant kill rolling. Important thing to note is that the shop entrance moves slightly from run to run, so it isn't always in the exact same spot, which can make it somewhat difficult to find. From my experience, the door will always be slightly right of center, within a few block range, and fairly low, almost all the way through to the bottom walkable area of the level. Step 3 is to simply go through the ghostly looking door, which can only be done if the player is cursed. 3 presents will be on the ground for 20,000 gold each, guarded by a small ghost. The ghost is harmless and can be touched safely. These items are always of high quality and will commonly contain a Kapala, as well as a weapon and back-wearing item like a jetpack or power pack, for example. I recommend stealing all the items though, since they are extremely valuable and it is unlikely that you have enough money to buy all of them at this point in time. But beware that doing so will anger the ghost shopkeeper and cause him to chase after you, much like the regular ghost, instantly killing you if he comes into contact with you. Be quick picking up all the loot and rush to the exit and you should be fine. Since 3 out of the 4 methods for getting cursed can only be done in zones after the dwelling, the only way to access the Ghist shop on floor 1.4 is to curse yourself using the cursed pot. In multiplayer, this will be very easy by having one player throw the pot at another. However, this is definitely a bit trickier than it seems in single player, since simply breaking the pot won't do the trick. I've compiled short tutorials here showing 3 of the easiest and most consistent ways to set this up that I've discovered, so you can curse yourself every run if you want. The first strategy is quite simple. Find any spot where there is only 1 block height directly above your head, and place the cursed pot on top of that block. Return to your original spot 2 blocks directly below the level where the pot sits. Drop a bomb in this spot and get slightly outside of the explosion radius. When the bomb explodes, it will only blow up 1 block height above it and leave the undamaged pot to fall straight down. As soon as the bomb explodes, just run underneath where the pot is falling to have it drop and break on your head, applying the cursed status. The timing of running back in and getting underneath the pot immediately after the bomb explodes can be slightly tricky, but with a small amount of practice becomes very easy. The second strategy is very similar to the first and is both safer and more consistent, but the terrain required to set it up is ever so slightly more difficult to find. Look for a location just like the previous setup, but that also has an open space 2 blocks beneath the player, so there are in effect 3 layers. Drop a bomb in the same location you would for the first example, and then run and stand in the spot 2 blocks below that. This method keeps you at a safe distance from the explosion at all times, so there is no timing required. The bomb will blow up the blocks above and below it, leaving you and the pot untouched, only for the pot to fall all the way down onto your head, again applying the cursed status. The final method is to find any spot where there are skeleton blocks at least 2 high, where you can also set the pot down on top of them. Clear any other skeleton blocks and debris that you can, leaving a pillar of skeleton blocks 2 high. Set the cursed pot on top of the skeleton blocks and drop down next to the blocks. Whip the blocks to destroy them, which causes the pot to fall, and walk slightly forward to meet it, so it again falls and breaks on your head, applying the cursed status. It goes without saying that none of these strategies work absolutely perfectly 100% of the time, but they are incredibly consistent, reliable, and easy to set up on any given level. Another key thing to note is not to attempt any of these strategies too close to traps or other monsters, as the brief stun from the pot hitting you may be enough time for a monster to swoop in and get the kill on you, since you now only have 1 heart. Thanks for watching, everybody. That was my complete guide on everything related to the new curse status in Spelunky 2. If you found the video helpful and informative, please hit that like button, and don't forget to share with other people who might be looking for the same information. I'm going to be releasing many Spelunky videos in the coming weeks, breaking down everything, including all 54 items, so if that's information that you would find helpful, be sure to subscribe. Alright guys, bye-bye.